Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
Together we are two of the Office Blokes.
Just two?
Yep, there you go. Office Bloke Daz, I don't know. What did he do? Who did he upset this time?
You know what, I can't think of anything.
No, he was going to get us cancelled, so we had to tell him to have a couple of days off.
Yeah, in the doghouse.
Yeah.
In the doghouse.
Yeah, plus he doesn't know how to go back without using the mouse.
Oh, everyone knows that, don't they?
It upset loads of people, so, sin bin.
Even I know how to. I mean, I'd show you now, but obviously we haven't got time, but I can do it.
There's no time at all, is there?
No.
That's why we're doing this intro so quick and not just going on for ages.
Busy. Yeah, get straight to the point, not messing about.
Absolutely.
Not going on about anything, nothing in particular whatsoever, because we're in a rush, so...
No, well, we're rushing, aren't we? So
yeah, so we're getting straight to the point.
Yeah, so straight to the point. Once a week now, we're going to be doing full episodes of Family Guy over on Patreon. It's going to be a Saturday thing, I think. Keep your eye out for it. For £1.50, you're going to get like Donut Operator that isn't on YouTube. Channel members get that on YouTube as well, actually. But and full episodes of Family Guy and some of the other stuff that we just throw out there randomly. So
£1.50 you can join Patreon from as well. So
that's
pretty good value.
So
pretty good value.
That's 37p per episode or something.
I've not worked it out, to be honest.
37.5p per episode.
Depends how many episodes there is, doesn't it?
One a week for a month. £1.50 divided by 4.
Of course it is.
There you go. Told you we were in a rush.
After 5 minutes, the video starts.
Right then, we're going to do a bit of Lawrence. We've not reacted to him for a little bit.
No, it's been a while.
Yeah, so British roads ain't got nothing on America. British roads ain't got nothing. They've not even got surface on them, the majority.
Absolutely shocking, aren't they? Some of them really are.
And also, for some reason, this time of year is when they decide to close every single road and put temporary traffic lights on every other.
Oh man, there's so many about at the moment. It's
madness,
absolutely unbelievable. I hope they finish before the schools go back. That's all I'm saying. Which is probably next week, is it?
Next week, next Wednesday, my kids.
Ah man, is it?
Yeah.
Better get a shift on.
Yeah, right, let's check this out then. British roads ain't got nothing on America. Let's do it.
For those of you not in the know, Katie Freeway is not the name of a popular girl in high school. It's the name of a freeway in Katy, Texas.
We've got that picture in the office, haven't we?
We have got that picture in the office, that exact one.
Exact one.
There you go.
Interesting.
Ripping us off, Lawrence.
Texas. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to roads, and specifically how British roads ain't got nothing on America. And when I say that, I'm not necessarily talking about the quality of the roads. I mean, I used to live in Indiana. No, in fact, and you can probably see it in my eyes, no surprise, that I'm talking about size. And whoopee-doo, says Uncle Toby, America has bigger roads, so what? It's a bigger country, of course it has bigger roads. But its major roads are big and astonishing in ways that are big and astonishing. I think it was another of my uncles, Dr. Emmett Brown, who said, "Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads." He was from the north of England. But 30 years earlier, when Doc was busy inventing time travel, there was another man who saw things differently. In 1956, several months after Emmett Brown first visualized the flux capacitor, Dwight Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act into law. And this authorized the construction of an interstate highway system that would total more than 40,000 miles of road. This absolutely revolutionized US travel.
When did we get the motorways? Was that in the 60s?
I think it's like the 50s or 60s, wasn't it?
I'm sure I've heard my dad talk about when the M1 was built.
Yeah.
He remembers, because you used to have to drive to Cornwall all on A roads.
Oh yeah, I can imagine
it take him like 24 hours to drive to Cornwall.
It would take an absolute age, wasn't it? In fact, the first motorway was actually in the northwest, wasn't it?
Was it?
It's between... Was it somewhere in Preston or something like that? But I think that was the M6, funnily enough. You'd think it'd be the M1, but I think that was the first stretch.
I drive over the M6 every day, and after work, stand in traffic every time.
Oh, I know, it's incredible, isn't it? It really is.
I don't know if this is a myth or not, but I heard, and people are going to have to let me know, I don't know if Lawrence will address it, that some of the highways in the States are that long that they put bends in them just to, because people are just going to be going in a straight line for so long.
Just to keep them awake.
Just to, I think just for something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a myth or not, it's just something I heard. It's probably wrong since I've said it. So
maybe, but sounds like a good idea though.
Well, if it's just
one straight... you can understand it, can't you?
Yeah.
You can understand it without a doubt.
Driving can get boring, and if it's just, there's nothing to do for hundreds of miles,
Even over here, you do get incidents every year where people fall asleep, and it's generally on motorways as well, because they have the long straight stretches. Becomes a bit monotonous, and people can nod off, can't they? So
gets tiring.
Yeah.
To the extent that in America there are 0.84 vehicles for every human and child. In the UK, this number is considerably lower. Of course, there we can partially rely on a comprehensive nationwide transit system. In the US, for reasons that I delved into in a previous video, and which I will link to at the end of this one, the nation's transit system is not as far-reaching. And this was a big shock to me when I first moved to the United States. And so when I realized early on that you couldn't get everywhere by train or boat or flying DeLorean, I immediately realized that Uncle Doc was full of Not only did America have a lot of interstates and existing routes, but they were bloody big buggers. Let's take a look at how some of the longest roads in America compare to those in Britain. Just this morning I had the urge to hitchhike in the manner of an 80s movie protagonist from Chicago to Seattle. And then I remembered that this was a terrible idea and that my remains would be found in a barn in Montana. But yay to America's interstates, because you can do that, the driving, not the hitchhiking. Specifically in this case, we're talking I-90, and if you know anything about your American interstates, Interstate 90 doesn't just run from Chicago to Seattle. Your journey, not to be confused with the band of the same name, to Seattle via Chicago, not to be confused with the band of the same name, starts in Boston, not to be confused with the band of the same name. And that takes in a staggering 3,000 miles of road. And it's not even the longest road in America. That accolade goes to US Route 20.
Wow. It's a long way.
Does the I-90 go past Yellowstone? Because
Not sure.
Kind of went north, didn't it? Because my mum and her husband rented a car for like a month in the States.
Yeah.
And did one of the interstates.
Oh, right, okay.
And then saw all the stuff that was on the way.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was in the north, and I feel like they went past Yellowstone.
Right, okay. Oh, maybe.
But the I-90 just sounded familiar when he said it.
Yeah. It could possibly be that, because it's certainly northern, isn't it? So, yeah, could be.
3,000 miles
That's a
long
long way
road.
for a car, isn't it? For a road, I should say.
Dude, I mean, I presume that's uninterrupted. Just junctions coming
well, you'd think
on
so,
and off.
wouldn't you? I mean, maybe they go through some towns and then just carry on the other side and bypass the towns. I'm not sure. That'd be interesting, actually.
Because it wouldn't need to be like a 3-4 lane freeway. Would it, when it's going through the middle of nowhere? It would probably just become like an A road with like a...
Yeah, I would guess something that long, though, would go through some towns on the way.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you had a fuel tank big enough.
Could you just
blast
have been built
that?
either side of it, maybe, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then you have, slip roads going off it, but... Yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy that, though.
Yeah.
Running from Boston to Newport, Route 20 is 3,365 miles. Britain's longest road is the A1, not to be confused with the British-Norwegian boy band of the same name, or the steak sauce. The point is, at 410 miles in length from London to Edinburgh, the A1 is considered by most Brits, myself included, to be a considerably long distance. But again, Britain is much smaller than America. This makes sense. The thing that really stands out to me here is that our longest road doesn't go coast to coast. But even if it did, if it went from John O'Groats to Land's End, that would still only be about a quarter of the distance of US Route 20. And I think before I moved to the US, I wasn't quite aware that you could make a straight shot from the East Coast to the West Coast along a multiplicity of roads. And I confess I only included this sentence so I could use the word multiplicity and this clarification so that I could say it again. On top of all of this, I learned today, the United States co-hosts the Pan America Highway. And the Pan America Highway spans both continents of the Americas to form an unfathomably large highway network that traverses Alaska to Argentina. At 19,000 miles, it's a 13th of the distance from the Earth to the Moon and is the longest of its kind in the world. But, as I tell myself often, not everything comes down to length. Sometimes we have to consider this. What do you think of when you think of British roads? Do you think of those adorable and quaint country roads that can barely fit a tricycle? If so, you've never been on the M25. At this point, the M25 motorway is more or less the de facto border of London. And due to the increased traffic of the capital, at its widest it has a whopping 12, 6 in each direction. Huge, right? America laughs. Multi-lane roads of these proportions are as common in the United States as oxygen. Some are considerably wider even than that. Take, for example, the Katy Freeway. For those of you not in the know, Katy Freeway is not the name of a popular girl in high school. It's the name of a freeway in Katy, Texas. At its widest, and this is completely and utterly a little bit insane, it has 26 whole lanes.
Wow.
Sure enough, when it comes to roads, and as it happens, litter, you don't mess with Texas, as evidenced by these. Here's a fun fact. Ever heard of the term spaghetti junction? Well, despite its name, it did not originate in Italy, nor, like a lot of Italian food, did it originate in the United States. It originated in Britain. In the mid-1960s, Spaghetti Junction was the nickname used by journalists to describe Gravelly Hill Interchange. And this is perhaps...
Birmingham, I think. Spaghetti Junction, I think it's Birmingham.
In the mid-1960s, Spaghetti Junction was the nickname used by journalists to describe...
You look confused.
I drove through Birmingham the other day.
I think it's the elevated section.
Yeah, because there's still there is a bit where you sort of go down and then
because then you've got the M5 like as well. You go to the M5 and it's the M42 as well. I think it's around there somewhere. So
if that's the case and that is the one, it's not that bad at all because you're just mostly staying on where.
I think from there it looks worse.
Yeah,
but I think if you're on there, because I think motorways in the UK are signposted pretty well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't really go wrong. If you know where you're going, then you should be fine. I think you can get from one end of the country to the other, just by looking at signs rather than anything else.
When I used to drive to Cornwall, I'd put M6 junction 27A, M5 junction whatever, A30. That's literally the only instructions I'd have on the back of my hand, and then drive 320 miles or whatever it is and end up at the campsite that I want to be at.
Yeah.
And it's because the motorways are so good.
Yeah.
As long as you get your junction right and then do that.
Yeah, I think motorways and the A roads and stuff like that pretty well signposted, I think. I think you can get around pretty easily, as long as you've got a good idea of where you're going anyway.
Yeah. So I drove through that the other day twice.
You would have done, yeah.
Drive Gravelly Hill Interchange. And this is perhaps Britain's most famous interchange and, at a reported 5 levels, one of its tallest. But in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, 5-level interchanges are just another part of the scenery. None more notably than the comically named High Five Interchange. Get it? It's like a high five. You won't be doing much of that on this interchange. The point is, it's the tallest one in the world.
Yeah.
And insanely large spaghetti servings aren't just unique to Texas. You'll find them in a multiplicity of cities, most famously Los Angeles, where I'm told the traffic is so congested, it's almost neck and neck with that of my channel. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Lost in the Pond. Let me know in the comments below which is your favourite humongous road. And if you like what you see here on Lost in the Pond and you want to...
I thought he was going to go into a bit more there, to be fair.
I did, yeah. About roads around cities and towns and villages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of ours are a lot more narrow, but I think maybe because a lot of them were made sort of like hundreds of years ago, even thousands of years ago. Well, then they've had roads, but then old buildings have been built around them, but then those buildings have been kept.
Yeah.
So the roads have been kept, so some of them are really, really narrow, aren't they?
The main road just there, is it the A56?
Yeah.
That's been there since Roman times.
Yeah, it has.
2,000 years.
Yeah.
So's the, what's the one to Chester? It's not the M56, but there's an A road in the...
That is the A56, isn't it?
I thought the A56 was this way. It doesn't matter, but either way, we've got roads that are 2,000 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and there was no cars. Now,
exactly, they weren't built for cars, were they?
No,
but then buildings have been built, but you're not going to flatten every single building because obviously, again, some of the buildings are 200, 300, 400, 500 years old, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what Americans think of it actually that have come over here and driven over here. Through towns and things like that.
I bet it's a nightmare.
It must be a bit of an eye-opener because in the States, everywhere you look, I know they can get busy sometimes, but they do always seem to be a lot bigger and straighter.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of films over the years and stuff I've seen of America and this, that and the other, but they all seem pretty straight roads as well. Yeah. Whereas again, ours can be winding like mad at and go all over the place, can't they?
Somebody country lanes near me are just like exactly what he showed, where it's like one car, and if you get someone coming the other way, it's like someone's reversing all the way. A
lot of those are like seaside places, aren't they? Like you get to North Wales and stuff, go to these little beaches or little villages, and you can literally fit one car through, can't you? And if one coming the other way, it's like, right, who's backing up?
I stayed somewhere a few months back with all the family. We had this big place in Oswestry, and there was the way everyone else drove was through a town, and then there was this one lane, little country lane that was windy, and it lasted like five minutes maybe for everyone else coming this way. I came in the other direction for some reason. Maybe 15 minutes of being on this one road at night. Yeah. In the middle of hills and valleys and stuff, and it's wide enough for one car.
Wow.
And it's one of them where like I was so hyped up by the time I actually got there, because I'm like, no one, don't anyone go there.
Especially at night as well.
Oh, it's rough. It was on a Friday night, so finish work, get the kids, go and do it, and it was like 8 o'clock at night, pitch black, minus degrees as well. I was so
not what you want. I bet you were.
Yeah. Anyway, that was an interesting one. So tell us about your roads.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What's the most exciting road in your life?
Yeah.
Anyway, cheers for that one, guys. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.